one of the most important events in December in Loughborough is the Conversation Analysis Day, held every year for 10 years now. Can you tell us a bit about how this tradition started?
Yes, the CA Day in December is something which goes back now 10 years, and it's great fun. We enjoy it greatly. It was started by Liz Stoker and myself 10 years ago, when we thought it would be a good idea to have a very informal day, just one day, no great planning, no great arrangements, just an invite sent out to whomever, saying, come to Loughborough and let's talk about conversation analysis. And indeed, people did come to Loughborough and we did talk about conversation analysis, and there were enough of us to have a sort of a schedule and a program of people given half an hour each to talk about their research and so on. And that went so well, we had such a good time, that we thought, well, let's do it again. And so we did it again. And eventually, after another year, we thought, well, this is quite good. Why don't we give it some structure? So we didn't give it much structure. All we did was give it a name, CA Day, and a date, always the first Monday after the end of term. And we know that in Britain, people had finished teaching and were free, and Christmas hadn't quite started yet. So it'd be something like the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th of December. So it's the end of term, people are free, and Christmas hasn't taken over their lives yet. And again, we put out invitations, and well, again, we were delighted to find that year upon year, people wanted to come, and eventually, we had to say, stop at this number, because the room wouldn't hold anymore. And we thought, well, that's great. We're having it in a room which was ideal. It's a flat room, but people can move around, you can change the chairs around. We have two big screens. We're sequestered away from the main business of the building, and so we're a quiet room to ourselves. And we can have tea and coffee and go up the road for lunch and so on. So it's worked in that sense very well.
So I imagine over the years there were lots of interested speakers invited. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Sure. We always thought it would be nice to have people bringing their own stuff, but also one or two invited speakers to give it a bit of focus. And over the years we've had wonderful invited speakers. I can't remember them all now, and it'd be unfair to me to miss out terrific people we've had in the past, but just for the sake of give you some examples, we've had Christian Heath, we've had Paul Drew, we've had Rose McCabe, people who are known to the community and who are bringing something which everybody knows about and wants to know more about. For example, Eric Laurier came down from Edinburgh. He's a stalwart. He's come to, I think, every one, and brought down wonderful data on multimodal activity in cars, and people are really excited by that. It's the kind of vivid research project that people want to know more about, and to go and hear somebody talk about it from the horse's mouth, as it were, it's a great draw. But in any case, most of the day is given over to people's own research. So we have submissions, and we choose, very difficult to choose amongst them usually. We can only really cram in, and we do try and cram people in, we try and cram in 9 presentations. And they vary from people very early in their careers, perhaps even postgraduates, through to well-established old hands. And they get a good reception because these are people talking about what they like doing to other people who like doing that kind of thing. So it's a very warm audience, and people appreciate the work that's been done, and also the speakers appreciate the chance they're talking to members of their, if you like, the same tribe. So it's very much a sort of a family experience, even though we're inducting new members of the family into the group every year.
So you mentioned that there are quite a few submissions for the few CA Day slots for presentations. Can you tell us, so give us some tips about how to structure an abstract to maximize our chances?
Well, there is no golden ticket. There's no magic way of getting in. It's some sort of mix at the end between the person who's working at the beginning of her or his career, like somebody who's finishing off her or his PhD, versus somebody who's been around for a few years, got really some very insightful things to say. Something rather, not, I was going to say strange, I don't mean it's strange in some bad way, but something slightly quirky, or is coming in from a different end of things than we usually have. But most, I'd say, all of the presentations will involve the classic CA things, namely a tranche of data, or tranches of data, shown on the screen, often multimedia, often video, sometimes just audio, and a careful examination of a practice by which somebody is doing something, be it a collection of lots of examples of the same thing, or some natural history of one particular practice going through. So we've had things like people collaborating on a video game, for example, seeing from both the screen and the person. We've had people navigating through walking with other people in a kind of ethnomethodological way. We've had, well, the variety of things done by talk, directives, promises, recruitments, all these kinds of things. And they all, form part of that spectrum of things which is the kind of thing you'd expect to read in, any journal article on CA. But when you have the person, her or himself, giving you her own experience of doing that thing and finding that practice, it's much more exciting because you hear it as if it was a live demonstration and discovery then and there, and that can be great fun.
And also in 10 years of CA days, do you have maybe a particular moment or a couple of moments that you look back on fondly? Or
I do, but they tend not to be the academic moments, because we enjoy those and they go into our consciousness and subconscious, but things I remember is the oddities. And most recently we've had what we are calling the cake off, to borrow the phrase from the Great British Bake Off, which is to invite people to bring cakes with them and to have a competition, and the cakes have been terrific. And what we've been doing every year as well is to give out prizes, whether it be cakes or for some other reason. And over the last few years we've done a bit of a pantomime with these prizes, such that I pick the names out of a hat, and every year we do a bit of a vaudeville act between me and one of the stalwarts, Andrew Merrison, who always comes, in which I pretend to have mislaid my hat, and I stand in such a way that Andrew Merrison is behind me, and the deal is that when I say I've mislaid my hat, he waves a hat in the background, such that we can indulge ourselves in that great British pantomime tradition of the audience shouting, "It's behind you." Now this doesn't mean anything to people who aren't local to the British culture and local to British customs, but those of us who are always happily join in with the Christmas shout of, "He's behind you." But every year there are many people in the room who aren't that imbued with panto and British culture. And 2 years ago, one of our colleagues, Saul Albert, was so worried about me not having a hat and not being that familiar with British panto culture that he thought I was serious, and he threw his own hat across the room and managed to hit the back of the head of the person in front of me just as she was taking a drink from her cup of coffee, and managed to spill it all down her front. So those are memorable things. They've got nothing to do with conversation analysis, but nevertheless gives you a sense of the informality of the proceedings and how much fun it can be.
And finally, can you tell us a bit what is in store for this year's?
Oh no, that's a secret. You'll have to come, Bogdana and Joe, you'll have to come and discover what's in front of us this year.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.